Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today, I know it's been so long since I have filmed and done a video for you guys, but it's because honestly, just the past couple months have been a whirlwind. My sister-in-law was getting married, which was super exciting. Everything went beautifully. So we are finally back. We are finally settling down. Hallelujah. Today's video is gonna be about blending and cut crease hacks. So as you can tell, if you follow me on Instagram, a lot of my pictures and a lot of the quality of my pictures have been changing. I've always loved cut creases, but they've always been something I've struggled with. You know, if you've been on my if you've been on my channel for a while or you follow me on Instagram, you know that I have pretty deep set eyes. Every animal in this house was sleeping. The second I sat down, it's like they all drank a Red Bull. So because I have deep set eyes, that means that my crease, instead of being, a little farther out, easier to work with, ba-bam, no, it's super far back. So blending has always been a struggle for me. Cut creases have always been a struggle for me because basically as soon as I open my eyes, whatever shimmery or whatever I put here is gonna touch my lid, basically ruining the cut crease because all of those beautiful matte colors that I blended out to perfection are now ruined by all these shimmery colors. So doing some research, watching some different YouTubers and some different videos, I was finally able to figure it out. I'm going to be doing the same eye look on both sides, but with two different sets of brushes. Now the reason that I'm doing that is because I want you guys to see both techniques. On this side, I'm gonna have basically the technique that we all know and love. Now this has been our tried and true form of blending for probably about at least the last 5 years. This has been the big duo. On this side, as you can see, I have much more tapered brushes. I have more pencil brushes. And I have this tiny little duder, which I may or may not use today. I'll probably use them, but we'll see. But this has been basically my new form of blending, which I'm gonna show you guys. So before I keep blabbering on, I'm just gonna jump right in. For this look, I'm gonna be using this Morphe Jaclyn Hill Vault Collection palette in Dark Magic. The reason I'm using it is because blacks, greens, this kind of taupey colors, these are all usually very difficult shadows to blend. So I thought perfect way to demonstrate how these new blending tricks have really been changing my life and making even these shades easier to use. The first thing I'm gonna start out with, and I'm gonna use it on both sides, is primer. Now I'm gonna be using 2 primers and I'll tell you why. So you can use just concealer, which is actually usually what I would use. Now I have been using lately the Revolution Pro Full Cover Camouflage Concealer in C1. It's a very light shade. The reason I chose a very light shade is because it does really help the shadows pop. It helps it be more vibrant and just really stand out more. The other one I use is the MAC Select Cover Up in NC35. This one is a little bit closer to my skin tone. This one I'll use usually if I'm doing a more natural look. So today, since I'm not gonna be doing a natural look, I'm definitely gonna be doing a more vibrant look. I'm gonna go with this one that's a bit lighter. The other primer I'm gonna be using is the Morphe Eyelid Primer in Translucent. Now, the reason that I'm using both of these is because, to be frank, I don't like this primer by itself. But that's not just this primer. I don't like any eyeshadow primer by itself, especially the ones that are clear. They grab the shadow really well. They do. And they do make your eyeshadow last longer. So if you're not using anything, at least use this. But the reason that I personally don't use this by itself is because of the fact that it is primarily transparent and translucent. All of our eyelids have different colors. You can see different things on it. Sometimes there's pigmentation that's there. Sometimes you can even see people's veins. And if you're using this, if you apply the shadow over top, yes, the shadow will hold on, but it's not going to be as vibrant because all of those colors are going to be coming through. It can make your shadow look uneven. It can make it look like you didn't blend properly even though you did, and it might just be that you have a little spot there that's a little darker than the other side. So that is why I don't use this by itself. The reason I'm going to use this underneath this though is because it will help this latch on tighter, which means that my shadow is gonna latch on tighter. And honestly, you could use just concealer because that isn't something that I usually have a problem with. Usually my shadows don't fade or anything. But if you really do want to lock and load for the rest of the day, this combination right here is perfection. And I mean, they even match. It's like they were made for each other. So I'm starting out with the Morphe Eyelid Primer. I'm gonna put a little dab of that. And I'm gonna use this Morphe E20 brush. I like this one because it's got a good density, which means it's not gonna soak up a ton of my product, but it's also gonna help distribute it properly. But see, as you can tell with just this primer, or at least I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but I can tell in person, I can see all this discoloration here, here, and also up here. So again, that is why I don't use these primers by themselves. So in just a couple seconds, you're gonna feel that almost start tightening on your eyes. It's just setting. Don't even worry about it. It's basically just becoming more of a solid base, and you're gonna feel that it's not as tacky anymore. So at that point, you wanna apply your concealer. So again, I'm using the Revolution Pro Full Cover Camouflage Concealer in C1. And I'm using, just the teeny tiniest pea size amount for both eyes, and it's plenty. Traditionally, we would start out with the lightest shade as a transition color. So that's what we're gonna do on this side. We are gonna start out with, which is kind of like this medium neutral tone light brown right there. I'm gonna grab this Bdellium Tools 785 brush. It's just a very good fluffy brush, and we're gonna go ahead and start on this eye. And I didn't mention this actually, but let me take a second to talk about it. I did not set the concealer. The reason I didn't do that is because when you set the concealer, it's not gonna grab as much as the shadow, so you're already gonna lose pigmentation there. Does it mean that blending out is gonna be a little bit harder? Yes. But I would not set the concealer, whether it be with these brushes on this side or on this side. Do not set the concealer. I know everyone says, set the concealer, that way it goes on smoothly. Yes, it does, but it will take you forever to build up the pigmentation. And most of it might end up falling off because it has nothing to latch to. Leave it tacky, don't touch it. Just start out with this, and just start out with the least amount of product. That's the easiest way to do it. Blending will be a breeze. Just don't set it. Hashtag don't set it. So I'm gonna blend on this side the same way I always would. Just focusing on the outer corner, using small circles and windshield wiper motions. On this side, I'm gonna start out using the Morphe E36 brush. It's a very tiny detail pencil brush, and you're gonna see why. We are gonna start out with Temptress. That is right, you heard me correctly. We are starting out with black, jet black. The reason we are starting with the darkest shade is because this is how we are going to help this shade stay very vibrant. It is going to truly stand out at the end of this look. Now, because we are starting out with the dark shade though, this is why I'm using a very small brush, because we do have to use very precise movements. So now that we've laid down the majority of the pigmentation, basically in a straight line, I'm gonna wipe this off on a paper towel. You can also use like the Vermona color swish, things like that. And I'm gonna blend out these outer edges. You wanna do that before moving on to the next color so that blending becomes much easier for you. When I close my eyes, as you can tell, I put it very high on the crease. The reason I did that is because, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I have deep set eyes. So if I were to put it in my crease, that means that as soon as I looked straight, all the shimmer color would touch the matte. we're gonna move into this shade called Potion. And I'm gonna use the Bdellium Tools 776 for this one. So again, I'm gonna pick up some shadow and just start working that into my crease, but not as far as I did the other transition color, much tighter. So before moving on, I'm gonna go back in with the 785 brush just to really blend out those edges and blend those two shades together. Back on this side, I'm now gonna go in with that Potion shade with a kind of medium-sized pencil brush. This one is the 781, so as you can tell, it's, here, let me hold them close to each other. It's considerably larger than the first one that we used, but it's not as big as the last one we're gonna use. So I'm gonna go in with this one now with that same shade, Potion, and I'm gonna do literally the exact same thing that I did with the black. And when I pick up pigment, I'm not like going in there like swirling it all around. I'm literally just dabbing it and then tapping off the excess. So I'm gonna place this literally like a hair above where I started the black. So the same as I did with the black, I wiped off the shadow on a paper towel from this brush, and I'm gonna go ahead and blend out those edges. I also wanted to mention, because I didn't say it before with the black, I only placed the black until halfway into my eye, and then I blended it out a little bit, but I didn't place pigment in that direction. The green, I did place 2/3 in, and then I'm gonna blend it a little further out. I'm gonna use the 776 brush again, and now we're gonna start dipping into the black. So we used our lighter transition shade first, we used our like medium shade, and now we're gonna use our dark shade. I'm gonna do the same motion basically that I did with the other two shadows. I'm gonna dab it into this corner right here, and then I'm going to gently blend it out. Then I'm gonna go back with the 785 brush and just basically do the same thing. I wiped off all the shadow, and I'm just gonna go along the edges and right here to just kind of blend it all and fuse it all. Until we cut the crease, I'm pretty much done on this side. I'm gonna leave this alone for right now and just finish up on this side. Now I'm gonna go in with my last Bdellium tool brush in 783. It's the biggest one. So I'm gonna show you the three of them next to each other. So this is the one we're gonna use now. This is the one we used to apply the green, and then this is the one that we used to apply the black. So I didn't realize that I didn't have my microphone on while I was recording this last portion, but basically what I did is I used the 783 brush from Bdellium Tools that I was just showing you guys, and the shade Shush. And I basically did the exact same thing that I did with the green and the black shade. I placed it basically almost over top the other three shades, just a little bit farther out, and then I wiped down the brush on a paper towel and I blended out the edges. And now I'm going back in with the 781 and the shade Potion, because to maintain the vibrancy, what we're basically gonna do is almost the same thing that we did to get to this point, but in reverse. So we did black, green, beige, or brown, and now we're gonna do green, black to make sure that they stay vibrant. So if you can see the pattern, I basically always apply the color, wipe down the brush, and then blend it out. And then lastly, I'm gonna go in with this Morphe E36 brush and Temptress, which was the black shade again, and then we're gonna go ahead and deepen up the black. This next step is recommended. So you take some makeup remover and a Q-tip. Now I got these cosmetic Q-tips from the Dollar Tree, but you don't have to use these. You can use regular Q-tips. I just have them both in my jar. And my jar is from Home Goods, just in case you wanted to know. And basically what this next step does is it cleans it up. You remember all this on the lid that I was like, don't worry, worry about it. And the reason for that is so that when I apply the concealer for the cut crease, the concealer won't mix with that and then turn like this dark gray. The reason I say that this is recommended and not mandatory is because most of the time you can't see the difference whether or not you clean this. But if you go in with a very light shadow and your concealer mixed with those dark shadows and kind of was gray, when you apply that light shadow, it won't stand out as much as you want it to. For the actual cut crease, I have two different brushes that I like, but basically you want to use a pretty flat, pretty stiff concealer brush. These ones are the Morphe 224 brush and the Bdellium Tools 936 brush. So I would just have to say that the Morphe one's a little wider and the Bdellium one is a little bit more narrow. So I have the concealer on my hand and I'm gonna go ahead and put concealer on the front and back of the brush just to help really coat it and flatten it out. I'm gonna start out here in the inner corner. And I raise my eyebrows a lot to be able to achieve this. But basically using the edge of the brush, you essentially just want to carve out your crease in as straight as line as you can. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a clean small brush just to blend out the concealer on this edge. Alright guys, so remember that little tiny duder brush that I was talking about at the beginning? You can see it's kind of just a teeny tiny little dude. So I'm going to be using this to pack on the dark shadow on the outer edge. Also, I wanted to mention that as you can see, I'm packing it on at an angle. I'm not packing it on straight like this, it's at an angle. I wiped down my brush and now I'm gonna go in with Potion. I wipe my brush down again and I'm gonna go in with Shush. And the same way we went in reverse on the top, we're gonna go in reverse again. And then using one of either the same pencil brushes from earlier wiped down or just any pencil brush, just make sure that that is all blending with small sweeping motions. And now we're gonna go in with our lid shade. Let's do Diversion. So to pack on eyeshadow, especially shimmery eyeshadow, you wanna use a brush that's very similar like the one that we used for the cut crease. It's basically just a smaller version. And then once you get to the edge where the other shadows are, you're just gonna go ahead and gently sweep the shimmery shadow over those outer crease colors. Not all the way, but just so that you get a nice blend. Next, we're going to clean everything up by taking some more makeup remover. And you could do this with Q-tips, you could do it with a wipe, anything like that. I'm just going to go ahead and use the Q-tip and the makeup remover, same as I did earlier. And we're going to clean up all this and make a straight edge. Alright, so that is pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead, do liner, lashes, mascara, finish my face, and then I'll do all the same on this side. The reason I'm not gonna show you this side is because I'm essentially doing exactly the same thing except for the outer V. So the outer V on this side is already taken care of. So I'm just gonna apply the concealer, blend the edge, and then apply the shimmery shade. So I'll see you guys in a second. Bye-bye. Alright guys, so this is the final look. As you can tell, both sides look good, but they are very different. This side, which is the side where I used all the pencil brushes and the smaller blending brushes, as you can tell, it's very pigmented. It's much more dramatic. The colors show up so much more. On this side, it's still pretty, but it is definitely much softer. It is not as pigmented. You can't see like the green as much as you can on this side, but it is still pretty. So in this video, my goal was not to show you a different way that you can do to replace the old way of blending. The purpose of this video was much more just to give you another option, so that when you do want to achieve a look like this, which is much more dramatic and sharp and like vibrant, you can do that. Because if you're trying to achieve that with this side, honestly, it's gonna take forever, it's gonna get messy, and you're just not gonna have the same results. I do still use this style of blending. I'll usually use it more with like natural looks, like if I just want to do like a soft peachy like daytime look or something like that, I'll use this side. But definitely when I'm like going on a date night or a special event, or just something where I want a more dramatic look, I definitely choose this style of blending. And as you can tell, I added some glitter to my look. So that is Diamond City Glitter Gel from IO Beauty, which is my personal brand. I'll leave the link down below. It's basically just a very pretty silver color. And then on my lips, I'm wearing the Colourpop Ultra Matte Lip in Buffy. I learned this new style blending from a fellow YouTuber. Her name is Lucy. She lives in the UK. I'll also link down her Instagram so you can see her amazing work. Honestly, she is such an incredibly talented artist. But because of that, I was dying to see her videos. And she was the one that actually taught me this new way of blending, and honestly it has totally changed the game for me. It's completely changed how I do all of my makeup looks, even some of the more natural ones. It was funny because this past weekend, was it this past weekend? I think it was this past weekend at my sister-in-law's wedding. I was doing my makeup and it was just a, you know, like a normal brown smoky eye, and I did it with this style of blending and I was getting so impatient. The brown wasn't showing up as deep as I wanted it to. I was just so frustrated that honestly I wiped it off and I redid it with this style of blending. So that, just let that give you an idea. But yeah, so this is definitely my new favorite way of blending, and I hope that you guys like it, and it is my present to you guys. And thank you to Lucy who gifted the knowledge to me. But that is it, guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and I hope that you guys learned something. I'll definitely list all the brushes and products that I use down below, categorized, so you guys know which ones I used for which side. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!